Okay, we're live. Welcome to our Artist Spotlight with photographer Andy Hall. I'm Kristen Eggerling. I'm the promotions specialist with the Northwest Minnesota Arts Council. Andy currently has an exhibit at our gallery at Northland. And in addition to Andy, we have Trey Everett, who also works for the Arts Council. So Trey, do you want to introduce yourself and then we can pass it on to Andy?
Sure, I'm Trey. I'm the showcase specialist, and that's just a fancy word for I work with our gallery in Thief River Falls, and I work with our traveling art exhibit that goes to various libraries through our 7-county region each year. And yeah, I'm excited to have Andy here. Andy's a good friend of mine, and I've known Andy for a few years now, and love his work. And I'm so happy he can be in our exhibit right now that's currently going on. And we just want to mention before we introduce Andy that his reception is on Wednesday, this Wednesday, and that's the 24th. Of January. It's from 5:30 to 7:30, and that's at where the gallery is, which is in Northland Community and Technical College in Thief River Falls. And you park in the front and enter into door B as in boy. And it will be a great time. Andy will be there, and we'll have live music and snacks and drinks, and it will just be a fun time. So we hope people can make it to that. Yeah, and so Andy, welcome and thanks for joining us. And just if you could just introduce yourself, however you'd like to.
Thank you very much, Kristen and Trey. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, I'm Andy Hall, photographer. Have a shop down in Crookston, and been doing photography for 25 plus years as a profession, and just really tickled to have an exhibit going up at Northland right now. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. And so the title of your exhibit is Pulled in Many Directions. So that would be my first question to you. Tell us how you came up with that title, why you came up with that title, how it fits your work.
So I have to describe myself as kind of wildly eclectic as a photographer. I can become just enthralled, mesmerized in such a wide-ranging variety of subject matter that I couldn't come up with a better title than that, because I do grand landscapes. I photograph the tiniest little things, so macro style photography. I love abstracts. I love found objects. I am all over the board, very undisciplined as an artist, I guess you'd have to say.
How did you, you said you've been a professional photographer for 25 years?
Yeah.
How did you get involved in photography? Were you interested for a long time, or?
Yeah. My first interest in photography really does go back to my childhood. Once a year, and that was a long time ago, by the way. Once a year, my family, we would set up a slide projector in the living room, and we were feeding little slides in one at a time, and you had the little slider thing, and you could look at all of these pictures that my father had taken in his various places, and I just remember that being such a cool experience. So there was some initial exposure that way that really got me interested. I didn't do much with it. I took a photo class. I think it was probably taught by the ag teacher back in my hometown. And so it was interesting and fun, but it wasn't until after I finished college that I really, really became much more involved with photography. I have a psych degree and chemical dependency emphasis area. So I worked in that field for, oh gosh, I guess it was 6 years. But, what I found is I could not get out the door fast enough and get a camera in my hand at that time. And I think what that's all about, while I've kind of thought about it and kind of analyzed that, the work in the mental health profession is sometimes not very black and white. There's certainly, you're making progress with folks and being helpful, but there was something to that, seeing very concrete results, and I received that through photography. Take pictures, process them, and go, wow, this is cool. So I kind of liken it almost to getting your fingers in the dirt in the garden. It was very concrete and really results oriented, and I think that just completely turned me on about photography. So I transitioned out of that mental health helping profession into photography, and I've really never looked back since then.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you kind of, are you saying you kind of moved out of mental thought process analyzing into, like you said, getting your hands in the dirt and something more tactile? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. It was very concrete to me, even though that's a very creative process making images. I could see concrete results.
Okay.
And have a heyday with that, therapists. But I really enjoyed being able to see very concrete results, and trying different things resulted in, of course, cool, unusual things happening. Back in the day, of course, I cut my teeth on film. So there was always this delayed gratification. You have to send the roll of film in, and I was shooting slide film. So there would always be a delay. It's like, it felt really good, but the reality is, if I got 1 or 2 images out of a roll of 36 that I was happy with, that's actually a pretty decent percentage. Now, of course, with digital, people tend to be a little more, willy-nilly about it. You just fire a pile of pictures and gosh, something will turn out, right? And I still tend to shoot more in that a bit more disciplined, a bit more kind of film era shooting, even though I use digital equipment now.
Yeah. Just following up on your psych degree and your process now, do those two somehow intersect? I mean, does your interest in psychology somehow, has it influenced your photography or the way you look at subjects to photograph? I mean, is there any kind of correlation?
One of the things that comes to mind, and I'm not 100% sure that this will answer your question, but I am not a very disciplined photographer. There are tons of photographers that try to make images every single day, and I will go periods of time without even picking up my camera. And what happens is you get very rusty when you do that. The creativity is just not there. So when I go on a trip, and if I haven't been shooting in a while, I might not make decent images for the first couple of days. And that's the correlation of that kind of headspace and psychological aspect to it. If I find myself really struggling with making images and not doing anything interesting, creative, or just like, wow, where is it? I will sometimes just sit down on the ground and not let myself move from that spot, if it's outside, of course, until I find something interesting in the immediate 6 feet around me. So I will just literally just sit there and look and look and look. So that's I think a component of that psychological part of this. It's I die for finding extraordinary in the everyday, in the ordinary. So I just love that so much, but I don't always see it. I have to slow down. I have to really calm my mind and get into the right headspace to start making good images. So I think there is definitely overlap there.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about artistic process, which you did talk a little bit about, but is there anything else you want to say about that? Like how you get ideas or how you approach your photography?
Sure. I think for me, it comes, I kind of cycle in my interests. I do a lot of art fairs. Okay. So for 6 months of the year, I am on the road doing shows nearly every single weekend during the warm months up here in the northern part of the country. When I am in full art fair go mode, I don't even touch my camera. And that's probably unfortunate that I don't, but that is the case. When I'm done with art fairs for a year, I usually have to kind of decompress for a minute or two. So I find myself doing a lot of woodworking, just in my little tiny shop. And I find that really gratifying as well. And then when I pick a camera up again, it's like, okay, I'm ready now. I'm excited now to make some new images. So if you go to the exhibit, of course, you're going to see images. My most recent body of work is some prairie plant botanicals that Northwest Minnesota Arts Council was very gracious in providing me a grant to start that process about 3 years ago. And so I'm excited. I'm doing more of that again. And the process there is I go collect prairie plants when they're dead standing. So it's the off season completely. Most people, of course, would go out and photograph things when they're blooming and beautiful and green. And I am just fascinated when I go find dried up plants in their dormancy in the middle of winter. I collect specimens, bring them back to the shop, and then I photograph them with studio lighting, usually on a black background. So it can be multiple light sources and just so I'm currently in that little phase. I'm really excited to be making some new images again in that kind of genre. Fall is absolutely my favorite season to shoot. So I'm not going to be inside during that. I'm going to be out shooting fall colors. We have incredible opportunities up here in northwestern Minnesota and north central Minnesota. A lot of folks run to the North Shore as quickly as they can. And absolutely, I love the North Shore, but you can go over by Itasca, over by Monoman, over by Roy Lake, just north central Minnesota and find incredible fall color. So I love doing that sort of thing as well. A couple of years ago, it kind of relates to the creative process as well. There was an old abandoned building in downtown Crookston called the Fournet Building. And the gentleman who purchased that gave me the opportunity to go shoot in there before they started on any of the demo and rehab work. Again, just eclectic, but I was just taken with that project. I got to spend 3 days in this abandoned building all by myself. It wasn't a soul in there, 3 floors. It was just magic in there. And again, took a minute to start to see. Probably didn't make many good images the first day, but by day 2 and 3, that magic was happening again. So it's the creative process. I think people, sorry, I'm yammering on and on here, but I think if you are more disciplined and you continue to work on a daily basis with your art, I'm sure there's a more level trajectory of your growth. And that just isn't my process, I guess. I go in these just peaks and valleys. And So when I do get back into it, it takes a minute, but I then find myself growing and expanding that way too. So.
Yeah, another aspect of your creativity that I appreciate is that you print just about all of your artwork. You print it, you put it on your own canvases, you have a special coating you put on the canvas. Can you tell us a little bit about that part of the process?
You glitched for just 1 second there. Can you tell us what?
Can you tell us just a little bit about that part of the process? Am I?
Oh no, might be your internet, Andy.
Uh-oh.
He's frozen.
Okay.
We'll give him a little bit and maybe start moving again.
Yeah. One of the issues with doing interviews online, this happens sometimes.
Andy was worried about his internet speed too, but we thought it'd be okay.
Yeah. So I'll just mention Andy's built a little work area in the back of his studio where he sprays his, he puts on this suit and this mask, and he can spray all of his canvases with this special coating so it's UV protected, and if you spill something on it, you can actually wipe it down with a damp rag. And so it's really kind of cool, that part of the process, how durable his canvases are.
And it's on a stretched canvas.
It's on a stretched canvas, yeah. And the canvas the frame is built in such a way that if it gets a little bit loose, and none of mine from him have gotten loose, but there's these little pegs already inserted in the frame, in the back of the frame, and you just tap them down a little bit more, and it just stretches it out like new. So it's just this really quality work. His artwork is all quality, from the photography, of course, but also the physical canvases or the metal that sometimes you can get work on, and the framing. So I just appreciate his quality.
Interesting. Okay. Andy, you're back.
Wow. I am so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Oh goodness, that's
no.
And if it freezes again, you could try taking yourself off video and just do audio and see if that makes a difference. I don't know if it will, but
okay.
Something to think about. Yeah.
Well, we made it about 15 minutes without it, so I maybe it'll go another 15 without any hiccups here.
Yeah. So again, I was just saying that I appreciate the creativity, not only of your actual photography, but the craftsmanship of the whole physical product. And if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah, thank you. I initially, when I started doing art fairs and marketing my work, I of course had other people printing for me. I was in the Twin Cities at the time, and so there were quite a few resources there for printing. And then I realized that I could just purchase a large format printer and do that printing myself. So I learned that there's a bit of a learning curve with it. It's a little bit brutal, getting the prints initially to look exactly the way they did on the screen. So, but I've become pretty adept at that now. So yeah, I've been printing my own stuff on canvas and paper for about 15 years now. And I don't think I'll give that process up soon. Metals have become kind of a popular option too, and that is much more hardware intensive, and I'm probably not going to invest 60 grand in the equipment to do that dye sublimation metal process. But I certainly offer metal prints, and I farm that production out. But I love canvas. I love that the non-glare aspect to it. A little bit softer than a paper print or a metal print, but man, it just stays very present in the room because there isn't glare on the surface of it like pieces under glass used to be.
So everything at the exhibit is for sale. Is that right? Or
It is. Yep. And I have they're all over the board too in terms of size, scale, price, everything. I have little 11 by 16s that are $95. That's a wrapped canvas. The image goes around the side. I use a wooden stretcher on the inside of it. I coat all of my own canvases with 3 layers of UV protection. I have a spray booth set up here at my shop. So it makes them super durable, very robust, plus it's UV inhibiting. So you literally can wipe it off with the washcloth if you want to, the way I have those printed. But so anywhere from 11 by 16 on up to multiple image panos. I have one piece in the show that's 16 by 96. So quite large. Yeah, so the upper end of things is about $2,000 with a frame and in a huge piece like that. So quite a wide range of prices. Some images are in square format, some are in the traditional kind of rectangular shape. So I've got a lot of options. Yeah.
Andy, do you have any particular photographers that have influenced you over the years, or that you keep going back to for inspiration or kind of guidance in some way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tons, and really too many to even name. But some of the classics, of course, Edward Weston, just an amazing portrait person, but also would do found objects. He was kind of famous for his Pepper series in black and white. And you could take this somewhat benign looking green pepper and turn it into this, sensual and moving creation. Just unbelievable still life imagery. I was very inspired by that. Robert Mapplethorpe could photograph people in a way that just absolutely you'd see muscles just rippling from the way things were lit. Studio images. Certainly had a bunch of erotic work too that was very famous in its own right. But I was just so drawn to some of his super solid portraiture. Of course, Ansel Adams, hard to say a bad thing about Ansel Adams, sort of the grandfather of modern day realism photography. And that's really more of my vibe, is realism as opposed to like pictorialism. A lot of paintings you would see would be more, they're less literal and more kind of interpretive of a scene. Think of Monet, kind of that pictorialism vibe to it. They're flowers, but they certainly don't look like the literal flower that was there. So I tend to be more into realism, but that isn't 100% true either, because I shoot abstracts and I really enjoy doing that too. But they're real abstracts. They're not made up Photoshop creations. It's literal things that I'm seeing, but because of the way I shoot it, it ends up looking very abstract. So I'm into that. Jack Dakinga, incredible large format photographer. And my dear friend Jim Becia, who lives over in Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, I think he's got every bit as much going on as Jack Dakinga, and Jack's been published a million times. Very iconic images of the Southwest. But Jim is probably the most talented contemporary photographer that I know, and he shoots in large format, still shooting film. Incredible shooter.
Can you talk about your gallery? And also, it seems to me, and maybe I'm misremembering this, but have you offered photography classes in the past, or is that anything you do?
Yeah. Yeah. When I first opened the shop here in Crookston 5 years ago, I was teaching some photo classes. And I had been teaching in the Twin Cities. I used to work for a camera company down there. So I taught photo classes there and then did some adjunct photo work at one of the technical schools in the South Metro. So I have a lot of experience doing that, but it was a bit more, at that time, it was, shall I say, easier to do it because we were either shooting film or you were shooting with a digital SLR type camera. Now you have as many people shooting with iPhones as you do probably a traditional removable lens type of camera. Mirrorless cameras have become more popular even than the traditional SLR. So now all of a sudden the challenge becomes, gosh, are you wanting to learn this on your iPhone? Or are you wanting to learn it on a real high-end mirrorless camera? Maybe you want to shoot film again? And that has kind of come back to life again. There's a lot of young folks that are buying film cameras. So it's really hard, I think, to teach a simple photo class anymore. There's as many people that want to know technically, how do I change this? How do I do this? How do I manipulate the shutter speed or the aperture? Or, there's as many people that want to learn that as the creative side of composition. But I also get a ton of people that are asking about wanting to, well, how do I do this in Photoshop? It's like, well, there again, we've got so many software options out there now. Of course, Lightroom and Photoshop are the two main ones, but you have Capture One, and then you have countless plugins that people will use in addition to Photoshop. So there's kind of this logistics nightmare, I feel, in trying to teach a photo class because you have to teach so many things. So maybe it becomes a 12-week class, but I'm not currently offering any photo classes. I certainly will talk to anybody that walks through the door about photography and give them tips. They're welcome to bring their cameras in with them too, and can show them some things. But I don't have any current plans to offer any additional photo classes. My gallery is, I guess I'd have to say at best a part-time gallery. When I first opened 5 years ago, I tried to have a very set schedule, 5 days a week. I was always open from X to X. The challenge with that is the vast amount of my income comes from doing art shows. And so I have about a 6-month period where I'd have to set the gallery up, have it open for 2 or 3 days, tear the entire gallery down, load it in a van, run to Minneapolis, do a show, get back late Sunday night, set everything back up Monday morning to have it up for a couple of days again. For 1 year, I did a second entire body of work so that I didn't have to do all of that. But then you're sitting on a lot of inventory, and I just wasn't able to keep the doors open enough during those super busy months. During the winter, when I'm shooting still life images here, I have the doors open. It's almost embarrassing to say, but if you see the open sign on, I'm open. And I just kind of have to do it that way because I've just got so many irons in the fire. But I'm always available by appointment, always available online on my website, just not always here at the shop.
Yeah. So Andy, if people want to purchase artwork or look at artwork, you mentioned your website.
Yep.
So tell us your website, and if they want to give you a call, is that okay as well?
Absolutely. Sweetlightphoto.com, sweet like the taste, SWEETLIGHTPHOTO.com. That's my website. My phone number I'm sure it'll be on, well, it's on the website. It's on the door of my gallery.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't put it out here just because this is going out to social media, but
Right.
people can find it easily by Googling my name or my company name, Sweetlight Photographic
Okay.
Images. I don't have a cart on the website, so you're going to call me to do the ordering anyway. And I think that's best because there's so many different options for size and finishes and framing versus unframed, that kind of thing. So it's probably just best to talk those decisions through.
Okay, great.
And you're a part of our enhanced artist gallery with the Arts Council, I believe. So
Yep.
you do have a page on our website as well, and then
Yep.
a piece at our office. So
Yeah.
just a mention of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just going to ask one more question. Could you say something about the artwork? We're looking at behind you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's some of your macro work of some, it looks like succulents.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you
I've got a
say
whole
little
window
bit?
full of succulents here at the shop, and so I can draw on my own subject matter when I'm inclined to. Yeah, these are, I guess, just tiny little succulent, blooms or blossoms or leaves that, they're probably the size of my thumbnail. I've always enjoyed doing macro photography, and macro is a term in the photo world that gets kind of, well, it's become sort of generic to mean anything that you're kind of close up onto. But true macro photography would be something about the size of a nickel taking up the entire frame. And then there's the whole world of micro photography. Think of microscope. So you're going in even tighter, probably things you're not going to see with the human eye unaided. Love doing that kind of stuff. Landscapes are probably the subject that I have the most of. I've shot that for the longest period of time. Florals, I've shot that for about the same amount of time. The botanicals that are on black background, that's a more recent addition to my imagery, and I've just loved that project.
Sure.
And is that the one picture that's the Pasque flower that did you receive an award for that?
I did in the exhibition, the Northwest Minnesota Arts Council yearly exhibition. I won. I can't even remember which it was.
I can't either. I'm sorry. I should know.
Yeah. Award of merit or something like that. But yeah, and that was just a sunny Sunday morning in the middle of April, quite a number of years ago in Minneapolis. A lot of spring flowers were up, and it just had to snow one more time that spring. So that's one of those where, when the conditions are right, you just fly out the door as quickly as you can make it happen. And if you have to call in sick to work that day, you just do that, because if the conditions are right, you have to make images. And when you've got spring flowers blooming and then you get that heavy wet snow happening, the snowflakes are about the size of a softball. It's just amazing. And it's very short-lived. It's on everything, and then it just melts away and it's gone in a couple of hours. So very fleeting, but super fun.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Andy.
Well, I was just going to say too, in terms of photo kind of quick tips for people, if you're shooting fall colors, a lot of people think, well, gosh, a bright sunny day, what a perfect day to go out and shoot. It's like, no, it's probably the worst day to go out and shoot fall colors. What you want to really get the most saturated, intense colors is, if the leaves could be wet, that's perfect. So a rainy day is ideal. Of course, with a rainy day usually comes a pretty gray blah sky. So you try not to shoot much sky unless there's something really interesting happening in it. But so my perspective tends to be more tree level and downward, because you don't want that big gray blob to be up there. But I tell you, saturated leaves that are wet in the fall that's another one of those days where you call in sick and you go shoot. It's you have to make images when the conditions are right. Foggy days in the wintertime up here in the Red River Valley, just magic. When the trees sort of just come out of the fog, just this heavy, thick, frosty haze. Incredible. I think when people think about Minnesota, they have ideas of, oh, I have to go to the North Shore to shoot, or I have to go, here to do this. And it's like, there is so much magic in northwestern part of Minnesota too. The prairie areas up here are fantastic. It took me a while to see when I moved up here. I probably didn't make many good images the first couple of years because I just wasn't seeing the magic of this area. But there is incredible shooting up in this part of the state. So we have a wonderfully diverse state here when it comes to subject matter. And I mean, Southwest Minnesota, the kind of the rolling hills down there, incredible. Southeast, where I grew up, fantastic. The driftless area, the hills, there's so much cool stuff in Minnesota. And that's, that's another thing I'd like to say. Again, sorry for rambling on here, but people travel all over the world because, oh, I really want to go shoot Italy, or, oh, I really want to go shoot, this and this. It's like, I just relish finding magic that's, within 10 miles of where I put my head at night. And it's out there. It's there, but you have to be in the mindset to see it too. So cool stuff. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that just reminds me of back to your psychology interest, and you mentioning just setting on the ground and saying, I'm going to find something interesting right here. It's just a reminder that it is all around us. If the beauty or what we're looking for is here, if we have eyes to see.
Absolutely. Yep.
Before we end, Andy, is there anything you want people to know about your art or about you or photography?
I'm not sure. I feel like I've put a lot out there. Yeah, gosh, visit my website, stop at the gallery. I always love having people come in the door. Super fun to talk to people. I get a lot of visitors that come in from out of town. They grew up here and they always stick their head in the door. I'd love to see more of the locals just popping their head in. I've had tremendous support from the businesses in Crookston. Gosh, I've got work all over the place here. I'd love to just have people pop in, have no expectations of purchase anything. Just come on in, enjoy yourself, look around a little bit, and ask me questions. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, awesome. The train whistle tells us it's time to come to an end.
That's coming through. Yeah.
Dre, do you want to say how long the exhibit's open again and any hours, and also remind people of the artist reception? I know you said it earlier, but.
Sure. Yeah. So the exhibit, again, it's at Northland Community and Technical College. That's in Thief River Falls. And you enter door B as in boy. And the gallery's open during normal college business hours, and that's typically from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's free. We have a guest book. We'd love people to sign the guest book, you'll see all of Andy's work. And if you are at the gallery and you see a piece you love, Andy's information is there in the gallery. Give him a call. Check out his website. Stop in at the reception, which is just in a couple of days, and that's this Wednesday, I just lost it, the 24th, from 5:30 to 7:30. So come on in anytime during that time. Just hang out, talk to Andy, look at his work. And then the exhibit goes until the last week of February. And so about the middle of the week, we're ending the gallery. I don't know if we have an exact date yet, but it's so come in before that last week to the gallery and check out his work. So we're really happy that we can have your exhibit there, Andy, pulled in many directions.
And at the artist reception, Andy will be there, and there'll be live music and food.
Yep, we'll have some food, some snacks, something hot to drink, and just a nice time to hang out. And you can get some photography tips from Andy.
There you go. Yeah. Hi, thanks again so much to Northwest Minnesota Arts Council for the opportunity. I so appreciate it, and thanks Kristen and Trey for this opportunity to do a live interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us. The exhibit is fantastic. I was blown away when I saw the photos. So,
yeah,
thank you.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to end our stream.